To begin, some words from German poet Rainer Maria Rilke. I live my life in growing orbits which move out over the things of the world. Perhaps I can never achieve the last, but that will be my attempt. I am circling around God, around the ancient tower, and I have been circling for 1,000 years, and I still don't know. Well, here we all are again, today resuming our familiar journey. Actually, the journey never really was abandoned, though it may have seemed to be. Perhaps we took a break. We may have wandered somewhere else for a while, may have found spiritual sustenance in other places than this congregation. And now today we begin again, not marching out in a firm straight line, but circling, hoping to move ever closer to what we seek. The journey we resume is a timeless one that never really stops, no matter how much it sometimes seems to stop or even disappear during some chapters of our lives. But the journey we intentionally resume today by gathering as a spiritual community is the journey of the soul, the quest for meaning, for life-grounding, life-focusing truth, for a meaning that is capable of supporting us through all the chances and changes of our existence. The journey is a circular one because what we seek is not out there but in here, hidden away in ourselves, in this place, this time, the present circumstances of our lives. And though many others have already pursued this journey and shared their findings, we ultimately each have to take it for ourselves. Spiritual substitutes are not possible. Secondhand meanings just won't work. The journey of the soul is the journey of all people in all times, and of each single person in each time, and this is our time. As we set forth this morning, the path is familiar, but the circumstances are not. We gather as we always do on Sunday morning, the congregation that has been here for a long time, but this morning is marked by significant differences, only a few of which Gary detailed in his opening words. We have faces that are changed by experience. There are faces that are gone forever. There are new faces appearing in our midst. And the changes deepen when viewed from the inside in terms of the lives of each one of us, all the people here this morning. Things have happened since this Sunday last year that have changed you. Happened in your families, in your work, in your neighborhood, in the relationships with those you love, in the relationships with those you are estranged from, changes in how you perceive the world. This specific facility is much changed from how it appeared a year ago, thank God. And more changes are coming. You have new leadership. Your search committee, with every communication and invitation it issues, every time it speaks, is drawing you ever closer to the coming change of a new settled minister. Now, all these changes may energize you or deplete you, may give you confidence or shake your foundation, leave you with clarity or leave you just more confused than ever. Many changes, so many that the old journey of the soul seeking meaning begins to look not so old, not so familiar, but quite new, and maybe more uncertain in its outcomes. I took some driving trips this summer, one of which took me through a section of the Appalachian Mountains. While driving through the mountains, I often saw the sign that you likely have noticed if you've ever traveled through mountainous terrain: beware of falling rocks. I was puzzled by just how I should respond to the warning. Should I keep my eyes scanning upward along the cliffs for any sign of movement? In which case, dodging falling rocks would no longer matter because not watching the road would mean I was likely heading off the road. On the other hand, if I kept my eyes on the road, as a wise driver should, then I had no hope of dodging a rock slide because I would never see it coming. And even if I did see a boulder careening down the mountain, exactly how on a twisting mountain road do I go about avoiding that? I concluded that no matter what I did, I was a goner. Now that I'm safely back here on flat coastal landscape, I realize how very much effort I commit to preparing for the possibility of falling rocks in my life. All the insurance policies and safety precautions and plan Bs and lists of pros and cons and what ifs that consume me. Yet just as I saw in the mountains that there is no way to dodge a falling rock, I wonder if I truly believe that somehow I just might outwit the falling rocks that life sends my way over time. If I play my cards right, can I really avoid knowing the grief of loss that never comes when I expect it to? Avoid the hardships that are built into the very nature of reality? Just what of all the falling rocks can finally be dodged? And does it make sense to spend so much care and cost in arranging my life on the faulty assumption that I will be able to avoid most of the bad stuff that is inevitably coming my way? Just what is there that I could ever create or sustain that would not be vulnerable to all the chances and changes of existence? To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under heaven. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to pluck up what is planted. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to break down and a time to build up. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to seek and a time to lose. A time to keep silence and a time to speak. A time to love and a time to hate. A time of war and a time of peace. The familiar words from the biblical book of Ecclesiastes, which also became the lyrics of Turn, Turn, Turn that Diane played for the prelude, were written by an unnamed sage identified only as the preacher. In the ancient Israelite society, sages typically understood their function to be that of questioners, critics of traditional values and orthodox beliefs, and pointers to more insightful ways of knowing the world and the self. This particular sage, this preacher, carries his questioning function to an extreme by chipping away at some of the favorite truths that were brought back by those claiming to actually successfully completed a journey of the soul. Some of the priests and leaders of the organized religion of that time, who will always be the first in any society and any time to announce, hey, I have the truth here, were teaching the value of permanence. That which is true and beautiful and good lasts forever, claimed these sages, Just as God is eternal and unchanging, so are God's truths and creations eternal and unchanging. If you wish to find God and truth, seek that which lasts. In response to this popular teaching on permanence, the author of Ecclesiastes observes that many of the most valued things in life, such as love, peace, joy, health, compassion, last only for a moment and then are replaced often by their opposites. Permanence, argues the preacher, does not necessarily form part of the spiritual life, since the things of that life are also far from permanent. If you seek permanence, if the journey of your soul is bent on attaining an everlasting truth, if you measure the value of a thing or a person or an experience or a life by the length of its existence, then your journey will be a frustrating one. From the preacher's perspective, nothing lasts forever. An hour in the sun, a moment of breath upon the wind, and all of us, all of this is gone forever. And of course we know that. Our own Unitarian Universalist tradition has made a point of noting this, of insisting there are not absolutes somewhere waiting to be found, of challenging us to be open to ongoing change and to be ourselves agents of change. We know this. Yet all that knowing has not stopped us from trying to find something, somewhere, that can stand apart from change. In congregations, so often, certain aspects of the building are unchanging. Certain elements of worship are never to be changed. Or there's simply the common understanding that this is the way we've always done things. And they show up as items that will magically remain unchanged, or they do remain unchanged because the conflict that comes when they are changed is so intense everybody decides to leave it alone. And our personal lives also unfold in ways that imply we have somehow forgotten that nothing is permanent. I had my own sorrowful reminder of the impermanence of everything this summer when one of my brothers died unexpectedly of alcoholism. Though, given his alcoholism, his death was perhaps not all that unexpected. I'd known for some time that he was struggling with recovery, and I kept intending to check on him. I'd even casually considered making a trip to visit in case my actual presence might have been encouraging to him, as someone who understood the challenges of sobriety by virtue of having been married to an alcoholic. But my brother died while I was still thinking about contacting him, as I was caught in the assumption that there will yet be time. Looking at the slideshow his family prepared for his memorial service, my primary response was almost disbelief. How could so much time have passed since we were those small children in the photographs, passed while I seemed to not be noticing its passing? And how could that brother who grew up alongside me now just be gone? And therein lies the motivation of our journey of the soul. Indeed, the motivation behind most decisions any of us makes to get serious about our spiritual lives, or even the motivation behind religious movements generally. We discover in some very personal, absolutely unavoidable way that we are finite, that those we love are finite, that none of us forever avoids those falling rocks. That fundamental revelation of limits, of mortality, can send us in one of two directions, either launching us into a series of efforts to dodge the rocks and defy change, including death itself, or at least hold it off as long as possible, or else searching for something, an idea, a hope, a belief that can carry us through the falling rocks and help us keep standing. My late brother was a master builder, almost from the time he could pick up blocks and stack them into towering structures. He built tree houses and bicycle obstacle courses for us growing up. He became an engineer and supervised construction projects throughout his working life. His skilled hands that were forever sketching plans and putting things together in ingenious forms, his hands are an image for me of what does last, despite our years of being apart, of what lasts even now he's no longer living. Hands are our connection to each other. Hands represent the relationship that does not die even when the body dies, for the relationship continues in the mind and heart of those still living. The people we have loved in this congregation, the experiences we have shared in this place, certain elements of the building, certain ways of worshiping and doing church work, all that may change or even one day be gone. But the web of connections we create and sustain here, that remains. No matter what else changes, no matter what rocks fall on our heads, a web of connection that shows up every Sunday each time we join our hands to sing Shalom. And even when so much time has passed away that there is nobody here in the congregation who remembers any of us who are here today, no longer has any actual connection to any of us, still the relationships that have been formed, are forming, will be formed in this congregation will remain in mysterious, hidden ways. The preacher concluded his meditation on impermanence in Ecclesiastes with the observation that God has put eternity into a person's heart. While all things pass away, each lasting for its own time, what endures abides in our hearts. The love we have for one another, the faith rooted in that love which insists that the bonds we form are always there, strong enough to outlast any falling rocks, tucked away in a place in us where rocks can never reach. Our faith does not consist of propositions to believe or a creed to avow. Our faith lives in hands joined over and over across time. I live my life in growing orbits which move out over the things of the world. Perhaps I can never achieve the last, but that will be my attempt. I'm circling around God, around the ancient tower, and I have been circling for 1,000 years, and I still don't know. So we go on circling this morning, circling in our collective and individual journeys of the soul. Maybe this time we'll find what we seek. Maybe not. Perhaps we will circle for 1,000 years and still not know. But what we can know, what can always be trusted, what remains steadfast whether we circle for the first time or the 1,000th time, is that we will be held, supported, cherished by this community. To everything there is a season, except for love. Love is in all seasons, and it never dies. Amen.